David, we hear millions and millions of people around the world don't have access to something very basic, clean water, and it feels like a discouraging problem. But Lifewater International has stepped in, founded in 1977, to address that problem. Tell me about that.
Well, it is a big problem. 771 million people lack basic access, meaning they can't within 30 minutes walk to a place, get safe water, and be home. It's not even access like you and I might think about that. So our founder in 1977, he was a gentleman in California. He had a pump business, and he wanted to make a difference. And he saw the numbers were even larger then. And so he saw an issue. He said, I'm going to make a difference. And he started figuring out solutions to get safe water to folks. What's really cool is we've got this whole legacy, this whole foundation of people that have come before us in the organization. And through all this 45 years of time, our mission is still the same. Our why is still the same. Our how is very different. How we do things today is dramatically different from how we did things 45 years ago, but he built a great foundation for us as an organization to start tackling this problem.
I want to talk about how you tackle this problem, because it's not a step in, we'll take care of it and leave. You guys have milestones. It's a grassroots approach, and it starts with education in communities. Tell me about, we're going to kind of break down the process.
Yeah, that's great. In 2016, Lifewater developed what we call our vision of a healthy village model. And it was a profound change in how we were doing things. At that time, we said we've got to take safe water, but we also have to incorporate improved sanitation, which is toilets, and improved hygiene, hand washing, drying racks, things like that. And we need to put a comprehensive system together to have the deepest effect and the most lasting effect for communities. And so we put Vision of a Healthy Village together, and it's a 3-year process. So our teams will go and walk alongside a community for 3 years. And there's various steps, healthy homes, healthy churches, healthy schools, that we'll take in the process before we even get to the water point.
So when you have milestones, the first milestone is reached. That's where you set up infrastructure, bring in engineers. But the important part is empowering the community. So let's talk about bringing in the engineers, but at the same time, teaching, walking alongside a community that's about to witness positive change.
We'll start, actually, before we even get to the water point, we will start going home by home. And so our 15 plus staff in a program area will engage maybe hundreds of volunteers that will work with them. So our community might be 20,000 people, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 homes, and we'll walk alongside families and helping them change. So most of these families don't have latrines, and so they will build latrines, they'll build bathing stations, hand washing stations. There's 7 things that each home will do, and they'll become certified as a healthy home then. And so our teams will walk alongside homes, because the homeowners, the families are doing most of this work themselves. We're just helping them. Then we'll take that to the schools, the churches, the other players in the community, and we'll expand that idea. Not only will they become healthy, but understanding their role in sustaining these behaviors and along sanitation and hygiene. Then we'll get to the water point, and our engineers will design systems. Probably what people know the most are the borehole, a well. But our engineers also do some really fantastic systems utilizing capped springs, utilizing pipe systems, solar powered systems. They basically will look at an area and say, what's the most feasible, sustainable solution for the area, and they'll bring that water point in. We'll put in a water committee, and that water committee will require to be at least 50% female. Because women bear the burden of unsafe water. They're the ones fetching water. They're the ones taking care of sick kids. They have a real vested interest in the sustainability of what is happening.
Let's stop on the fetching water and look at this. This is, I picked this up earlier. It's upwards of 50 pounds. And they're carrying these, many of them the women, they're carrying these, how far?
The average walk, those are heavy.
They're very heavy.
I get challenged when I'm over at one of our communities. I'll pick them up. I'll see women wearing them on their heads, or I'll see women having 3 of them on their bike. And it is primarily women and children that are fetching this water. The average time in our program area in Tanzania is 90 minutes. So an hour and a half of going to fetch water and carrying that jerry can, and you might have to do it more than once a day.
And these water committees are made up of people in the community.
Yes.
Okay.
The water committees are people who very much know what it's like to carry jerry cans for 90 minutes and then bring unsafe water back to your family where your kids are not going to be sick because of the water you're drinking. But any water is better than no water. And so they're on our committee and they help steer the direction going forward. They will help the community, if they don't already have it, set up a savings plan. We'll walk alongside them. They'll be trained on how to take care of the water source. The water sources last a long time, but a handle might break or something like that. So we train them, and they also will be collecting dues from the community. So if something major happens, they can get that water source fixed. They'll also impose rules around keeping animals away from water sources, keeping dirty jerry cans away from water sources. And they're pretty straight. Like when we turn a well over, they pretty much own it. And I don't always understand because it's sometimes in another dialect, but I know they're saying, hey, no more open defecation, use toilets, let's take care of this water source because we want this here to be here 100 years from now.
And they're, at the end of your project, 90% of families have a certified healthy home. I think my favorite part is that you have a celebration at the end. I can only imagine the people you interact with at these celebrations and the way they feel now about where their community's at that point.
The celebrations are amazing. I mean, I'll be driving up and the celebration has happened. It's already started before we even get there. And there's dancing and music and people are truly excited because it's so profound. If you take the need of getting water for your family out of the equation, if you're not totally consumed, when you're consumed with finding water for your family, you're not thinking about other things. So when a community has safe water, families flourish. Women, instead of walking 90 minutes twice a day and taking care of their kids, say, I have a business idea. In fact, one woman decided to create a brick business. Single mom, 5 kids. Before safe water, couldn't think of anything but I've got to get water for my kids. She decided to build a brick business because the whole community was being elevated and people wanted brick houses instead of thatched houses. So she said, here's an idea, I'll go do that.
Now, I like that one, that's awesome. You're also taking the fear from those mothers constantly worrying about their children getting sick. When that fear is removed, there's all kinds of opportunity. I'm sure that you see a lot of people that all of a sudden they're able to pivot and think of other things and innovate.
Yes. The fear that every 2 minutes a child dies of a waterborne disease is suddenly gone. And the fear that my child's going to be sick, they're not going to be able to go to school, it's gone. And what you see is you see new businesses sprouting up, you see economic development sprouting up, you see kids in school. When we go before, maybe a school that should have 700 kids has a couple hundred because the rest are sick or fetching water. And when you come back, there are 700 happy kids. And they typically write a song for us of celebration, very literal, about bathrooms and sanitation and hygiene and what they've learned. But they're celebrating. And what's really fascinating is in the midst of that celebration, they love our team, but they're ready for us to move to their neighbors' community and help them walk the same journey. They're like, we've got this.
Tell me about some of the people that you've met along some of these journeys.
Wow, there's so many, both in the communities that we work. We find powerful volunteers who say, once they see a vision of what could be, they say, yeah, we don't want this anymore. I've been at ceremonies. The open defecation free status is a really important status, right? Because prior to that, there's not latrines. People are open defecating. And it's a big step when the government comes in and certifies. And I've heard some really empowered speeches from women who are, prior to this, walking for miles and miles, carrying water and taking care of sick kids, not following their dreams. And I've heard their stories about the businesses they want to start or the businesses they've already started. Kids are celebrating. It's phenomenal impact.
Lifewater International has a goal of helping 500,000 people by the end of 2024. And we kind of talked about this, but it's not we're going to step in and fix this approach. It is a walk alongside you approach. It's assistance based on faith-based belief to spread love and empower communities. And we've spoken a lot about that. Do you want to expand on that goal to impact even more people into 2024?
I would love to. We actually, this year, I think it's somewhere north of about 60,000 people will graduate from our program. That's 3 years where they are so very involved, doing a lot of work. They're lifting themselves out of poverty. And I think how we look at this is we're not reaching down to lift people out of poverty. We're walking alongside them, and we're providing tools, encouragement, being with them as they take that journey. And that journey to safe water is about a 3-year journey. And one of the cool things is faith is an important part for our staff, and Lifewater is a way for them to live out their faith. So I'll give you a story. We have a young female engineer in Ethiopia, and there are very few, the percentage of female engineers in Ethiopia is very small. And so she really can do what she wants with her career. And so I spent some time with her not that long ago, and I asked her, why are you with Lifewater? And for her, it was simple. She was raised in a community that had safe water and food. They didn't have to worry about that. Her parents valued education. They said, be what you want to be. She wanted to be an engineer. They supported her. And so for her, it's going to a community, and she lives in a community 5 hours away from her family, and walking alongside people to help them through that same transformation. And it's informed by her faith of loving her neighbor like herself. And she lives that every day. One of the cool things as we're walking through the hills in this Ethiopian community is when we got there, not a single girl went to school. It's a very traditional community, and they didn't see the value in that. And her presence, just her being there to design great engineered water sources, her being there to help dig trench when the community had to dig trench, her being there with the girls and the family in the community gave her a voice. And suddenly the stern traditional elders and the families are open to her thoughts. And she said, your girls need to be in school. So when I was there 2 years into the program, I watched as every girl in the community walked off to school in their uniforms. And that's just the effect of her living her life. And there's so many stories of our team that do that every day. They're just living their faith, and they're loving people well.
I want to talk a little bit about your location here in downtown Bentonville, because this is an organization that has such a global impact, but we can all help you and help communities that we may never see and people that we may never meet. Tell people that are watching this how they can help in your mission.
Well, one of the things that is really beautiful is when you go and see a community, and it might be far away, right? As you fly in and you drive, we're working in very remote parts of Tanzania, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Cambodia. But there's a lot of similarities. I go to a community, and the community wants to thrive. The community wants schools to be successful. They want their families are remarkably the same. They want their kids to be educated. They want a great trajectory for their kids' lives. They want to be thriving as families and communities and churches and schools. And they bike. There's bikes all over Tanzania. So I think there's a lot that is relatable. And as an organization, we want to help even for people who won't necessarily be able to go and meet face to face, but kind of see that kind of community relationship between this community and this community far away. And as a community, so how people can help us is really, I think, of 3 ways. One is get more informed about the world water crisis. Get more informed about what some of the techniques and things that we're doing here at Lifewater. Second thing I would say is consider being a financial partner with us. Think about ways as an individual, a family, a church, a club, a business that you might be able to connect with Lifewater. And third, just spreading awareness. This is a big issue. It is getting better, but it takes a lot of effort to continue to bring that number down from 771 million people.
Even if they can just share a post, just share with your network, that's a good start. Just spread the word.
Absolutely. And you can find out, we put everything on our website. So you can find out at lifewater.org, all about Lifewater. If you want to stop down, we're at 4th and Main Street. We'd love to talk to people more about what we do here.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Dana.